Hello everybody and welcome to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. I'm Zyrene and today we're going to be going over the first balance patch hitting Wild Rift. It's good to see Riot is already looking at win rate data and performances and trying to bring balance to their game right away. That being said, there aren't too many changes to go over, but most of the changes make sense. Before we get into it though, our question of the day is, which champion do you think needs a buff or nerf in Wild Rift? Why would you change them and how would you do it? Leave your answers in the comments section and I'll check them out later to see what you guys come up with. Now, without further ado, let's go over patch 1.0a. First up on the change list is Blitzcrank. This guy has actually been performing incredibly well on the Wild Rift, and for some reason is just chocked full of damage. I think the developers believed that he was going to be really hard to play on a mobile version of the game, where he's really skill shot reliant and he only has one skill shot and he has to land it to pretty much even be a champion. But turns out the rest of his kit is loaded to compensate, and he can just waltz right up and destroy everything without even having to land the hook. Keep in mind, supports get to buy a lot more items on the Wild Rift as well, and bring way more combat stats to the table if they choose to. So to counter this, Riot is nerfing his base stats and ultimate. His health is going down from 690 to 650, and his health regeneration per level is being nerfed from 1.07 to 0.81. His ultimate static field is having its damage reduced at all ranks by 50, making it go from 250, 375, 500 to 200, 325, and 450. And they're also having the duration of the AoE silence from 1 second to 0.5 seconds. This will hit his laning, his scaling, as well as his ability to just blow people up in a team fight. Vayne is the next champion that's getting a nerf, and the reason behind that is that people have been playing her in the solo lanes and absolutely decimating their opponents. It's already difficult to deal with ranged champions when playing the PC version, so you can just imagine how annoying it is to play versus a ranged champion with less fine control over your character while in the Baron lane, which is the Wild Rift name for top lane. Vayne is having both her movement speed and both her passives nerfed. Her movement speed is being reduced by 5, bringing it from 330 to 325. Her passive Night Hunter movement speed is being reduced from 30 bonus movement speed at level 1 to being 15 at level 1, 20 at level 5, and scaling back up to the 30 at level 9. This should bring down her ability to just chase people all the way down the lane and give them no escape early on in the game. This means that at level 1, she used to have 360 movement speed to chase down anyone running away from her, but now she'll only have 340 movement speed early game. This is a massive nerf that could actually make her more contestable if you start with boots in the lane against her. Remember, movement speed is all relative. It only matters if you're faster than them or they're faster than you. It doesn't matter if you have 100, if they have 110. They'll catch you. The last nerf Vayne is receiving is to her second ability, Silver Bolts. Silver Bolts is having its damage reduced by 20 at all ranks, taking it from 50, 70, 90, 110 to 30, 50, 70, 90. This is a double whammy, because Silver Bolts in Wild Rift isn't just a passive, it has an active part of it as well, which is honestly part of the reason you can't copy-paste Vayne to Wild Rift, and she's getting a nerf because she basically has a whole extra ability here. When you activate Silver Bolts, she gains bonus attack speed and heals for 60% of the damage dealt by Silver Bolts, meaning this is not only a nerf to her damage, but it's also a meaningful nerf to her early game sustain in lane. Vayne is overall just disgustingly oppressive in the solo lane with her damage, mobility, and sustain, and they have hit all three of those. But I think it'll just make her a little harder to pilot for the average player. I don't think good players will really be thwarted from terrorizing their opponents with this change. It'll just take a little more work from them to do so. And our last champion to receive a nerf this patch is Xin Zhao. If you haven't ever run into this guy, consider yourself incredibly lucky. Released Xin Zhao on the PC version of League of Legends still gives people nightmares to this day. He was an absolute monster. And in the Wild Rift version, he's no different. His pick rate and win rate are both incredibly high, which indicates that he is definitely easy to use, pick up, and hard to do poorly with, which all point to him being far too powerful. The nerfs Riot are handing him are pretty hefty, so let's talk about those. They're nerfing a lot of his base stats, so he isn't just a stat check that you lose against. His attack damage is going down from 70 to 64. His health per level is being reduced by 10, making it go from 110 health per level to 105. His armor per level is being reduced from 4.3 to 3.9, and his magic resistance to start the game is being taken down by 8, which brings it from 38 down to 30. These are all actually huge nerfs. Just by looking at the numbers, I did the math and you can just tell Riot said Xin Zhao is 9% too strong. So they took away 9% of his base AD, health per level, and armor per level. You just multiply the previous value by 0.91 and you get what they ended up getting. Then they ended up taking away a lot of his magic resistance to make him feel like maybe there's a chance at counterplay here and there depending on your champion, but that wasn't enough. Next, they took his third ability, Audacious Charge, and reduced the cast range from 6 to 5.5, which is another 9% nerf. And then they nerfed the cooldown of his ultimate from 80, 70, 60 seconds to now being 100, 85, 70 seconds. These nerfs to Xin Zhao will actually bring him in line without making him feel too different. Back when I was on the playtest team at Riot Games, there was always talk about how base stats and stats per level are some of the best things for you to nerf for players, and the reasoning was the champion will be weaker without really feeling weaker to the player piloting the champion. Nothing feels worse than having your abilities changed. Things like stun durations changed, percent max HP changed, ability damage lowered, or anything else to have to do with abilities. The reason is players get used to how a champion operates, and you get a feel for the ranges of your abilities, the amount of burst your combo deals, and what you can do in a team fight, and how many people you can affect. That's why things like the width of a skill shot never get touched unless it's really egregious. I'm looking at you, Morgana and Blitzcrank. Still might need one to this day. Still waiting. So overall, I think these changes are great for Xin Zhao, except for maybe the Audacious Charge nerf. But that one is probably the biggest surprise to his enemies when he's able to close a gap that's larger than they anticipate. So overall, I think these are all healthy changes, and he's definitely going to be weaker as a result. And that's it for the nerfs this patch. The only other thing mentioned by Riot in the patch notes was that there was a major bug fix. The bug fix says that they fixed an issue where bots were significantly overperforming in practice mode. See, I knew it. I knew I didn't suck. It was a bug. Oh my god. Anyway, that concludes all the notes laid out in Wild Rift's first balance patch, patch 1.0a. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to stay updated on all things Wild Rift, be sure to click that subscribe button and get notified whenever something new or interesting happens. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.